All right, everyone, welcome. Thank you for coming to the evening talk. Just a little announcement. We have a final talk in the fall series on Wednesday, December 10th. Same time, same place. And this will be Miles Micheletti from Washington Department of Natural Resources with a talk titled Mapping the Canopy, How Drones Help Us See the Forest and Trees. So that should be really interesting. December 10th, Wednesday. And you'll get a reminder, it'll be in the Forks Forum, and if you're on the email list, you'll get an email. If anybody's not on the email list and would like to be on it, just maybe make a little mark next to your name, the sign-in sheet, and with your email address. So welcome to tonight's talk, and I'm not going to say too much. Jill Silver is currently with 10 KYI's Foundation, and she has a background doing studies in this neighboring area at Evergreen State College and was able to come back and share her knowledge with us. She was for a while with the Ho tribe and now is with this institute that you see here, the 10,000 Years Institute. So with that, I'm going to let Jill take over. Thank you so much.
Vera. Hi, everybody. It's great to see faces, so many faces that I know. Really appreciate that you came. I'm going to share what we've been doing in the past year and the past 25 years. Okay. And I see that Rod and let's see, a couple other folks are on. Thank you, Neil. Hi, nice to see you, Allie. Jim Jorgensen. Great to see those names. And thanks, Courtney, for helping to facilitate. So the program at 10,000 Years Institute that I have pulled together in the last 15 years is based on ensuring that attempting to ensure, I have big goals, that what has evolved over the last 13,000 years here since the ice left the valleys and left the plant communities to evolve into what is today, can continue to thrive into the future. And the 10,000 Years name for the Institute comes from the time since glaciation that our ecosystems here evolved. And the group started at the University of Washington with a group of graduate students who desired to do applied research. And there were 6 original board members, and all of them are still active in the region, pretty well known. Those of you who connect with the University of Washington may know the name Brian Collins, a geomorphologist, or Lee Benda, or George Pess is a fisheries biologist. And folks are doing a lot of work still in the region. Paul Kennard was the Mount Baker, Snoqualmie, and Mount Rainier's geomorphologist, and he's on our board still. So that's about us. And we are focused. This is a drone image that we took from the top of the Spruce Canyon, looking east on the Hoh River. And I have worked across all of these floodplains all these years since I started working for the Hoh tribe to protect to map and protect the channel migration zone so that all of these trees can continue to self-regenerate after disturbance, because as you see from the river, there's a lot, as you know, there's a lot of disturbance that happens. And it was Scott. I remember being down at when I was working for DNR, and Scott was the wildlife biologist there. I remember Scott and I standing at the edge of the estuary at Quileute. And I remember Scott saying something about disturbance. And I looked at him like, this is disturbed? And he was like, he was so annoyed with me. You little greeny little dumb. He was like, of course this is disturbed. So that was my first real introduction to the concepts of disturbance being a natural phenomenon, not just human caused. Anyway, I'll stop there and start going through my slides. So we focus a lot on healthy native plant communities because they really are the foundation and the beams of our climate, our economy, our industries, our culture, our recreation, and our sustenance. We couldn't do what we do out here. We wouldn't have the industries, the timber, we wouldn't have the recreation, we wouldn't have the wildlife, we wouldn't have the fish without the trees that have evolved here to come through these successional processes, starting with willow and alder, collecting sediment in the river migration zones, and then over time, growing the large conifers on the buried log jams. They all start from the log jams. And so the big trees that fall in create the pools and the riffles and start the bars. They form the bars that are in the rivers. If a tree falls into the river will swing it around so that the root wad is upriver and it digs in, and the bowl of the tree is downriver, and you can see the gravel start forming around the tip of the bowl of the tree from the root wad on down. So there's a constant cycling that's happening, and as we mistakenly cut too close within channel migration zones to rivers, to river edges, or we do something else that wipes out the successional processes, like have Scotch broom take over, we change that whole cycle. And scientists who are working on salmon recovery and river morphology, understanding rivers, are talking about the large wood cycle a lot now. And that's the cycle of the big trees falling in, forming all those habitat components, and then trees growing back. And you know that these trees take 100 years, even the Sitka spruce, to get to be about 3-foot diameter, right? And it's a 6-foot diameter tree that'll hold itself in place in the Hoh River with a huge 20 to 30-foot root wad. And so it takes about 100 years to form this cycle over and over. And what we work on at 10,000 Years Institute is maintaining that cycle by eliminating the non-native plants that take over. And I'll explain why they do that, how they do it, and what we do to get rid of them. I will tell you right now, I've got 60 slides, and if y'all thinking about leaving at 8, you can come by the office afterwards and I'll continue for you. Okay? Anyway, so we just talked about disturbance. That's looking upriver from Lindner or Elk Creek about Schmidt Bar. That's the Upper Hoh Road erosion point right there. This is from a while ago. Looking towards the mountains, we are getting glaciers. Our glaciers, does anyone know how far back our glaciers have melted? Last I heard, it was 85% gone. Our cold water is from glacial melt. That's what keeps this river cold, that and shade. And we have a hyporheic. We have the river, 70% of the river's flow is underneath the bed of the river, underneath all that gravel. And it's valley wall to valley wall. There's water underneath, and there's an entire ecosystem of biota down there. And where the interstitial spaces in the cobble are big enough, you have fish swimming in and out underneath your feet out in the forest. It's really cool. Really cool. So anyway, cold water is underground, but as the glaciers melt and lots of glacial sediment come down, the river is avulsing back and forth continuously and wiping out that early successional willow and alder and making it so that that we can't evolve into the conifer and have these islands. All of these trees are coming out of hard points. The big trees are coming out of hard points, which are buried log jams. They're down there. That's what they're growing on. Okay, so disturbance, glacial retreat, lots of extreme rain that we're getting, the stalled rain events, heat dome events, bank erosions, sediment moving through, lots of channel migration bouncing back and forth. And then we do other disturbances, harvest units, roads, gravel mines, and that disturbance impacts those native plants and the invasive plants that come from Europe and Asia that we brought over, either intentionally or not. Don't have any predators. Nobody eats them. They don't need the same nutrients. They are generalists. They can survive cold to hot. They can survive bare gravel, and they just establish and keep establishing and create these huge seed banks. So this is the Winfield gravel pit off the Hoh Clearwater main line, the Hoh main line. All that yellow is Scotch broom. There's 10,000 seeds per plant per year that last up to 80 years. It's not where they're mining for road gravel, for road maintenance gravel, or the gravel that goes in at a culvert replacement or whatever. But it is all around, and there is a seed bank in there. This is down on the Clearwater main line. That was a gravel pit. This was a harvest unit. The seeds of the Scotch broom moved out from that harvest unit, gravel pit into the harvest unit, and they stay under the canopy for decades. And the canopy gets opened and they're still viable, and that's what comes up first. So I'll talk more about what that does, and I'm sorry that is in the middle of the slide.
The minus, see the minus.
Push the minus. I do see it. Do I see how to get to it? Yes, kind of. There. Push that. Okay, there.
Drag that.
Yeah, that's good. So anyway, so all of this is moving from mines to roads to harvest units and river bars, and it affects the regeneration of our forests, and it affects the growth and the function. I'll talk more about it as we go along. But that's the Hoh River. I did not change the color on that. It really was that blue that day because it's glacial melt. Okay, so.
Click on the main part of the.
Main part. I'm gonna let you drive for a minute. 10% smarter than the thing I'm working with.
We'll go down here. There we
Thank
go.
you. So I made this just to talk about all of that connectivity. With folks, just to have, there's a flyer over there of this that you can take. And it's just how getting some imagery off the Hoh and looking at how that whole climate change thing is, and glacial retreat is causing bank erosion and road damage and repair. And that brings in the invasive species through the gravel. And then we get loss of riparian forests over time, and that's really changing the river's function into the long term. And we're not around that long, you know, we're seeing these little 50-year windows, and we're not always knowing what we're looking at. It's not really that long that these processes go. So, have you heard the term ecosystem services before? Some people may have. Ecosystem services are the things that we get for free from nature. Clean water, air, trees, gravel, wildlife. We don't create them. We can't recreate them. We use them, we get them for free. And so invasive species like Scotch broom come in and they cause these rippling effects, degrading habitats, reducing those services, and damaging the economies that rely on those services. So I'll be talking a lot about Scotch broom today, less about and somewhat about reed canarygrass. We do a ton of tansy ragwort. We're not working on European green crab, but all of those are rippling out and causing long-term damage to our habitat, services, and economy. And they last for a really long time, and our budget is about $1 million a year to keep about 20 people working full-time in this community. It might sound like a lot of money, but I'll bet you know that it doesn't really cover that much. And so we're putting a lot of money into pushing back on all of this, and it's a drop in the bucket. I'll talk more about what we would like to see. If you've been to the Hoh River and you know what the species are that we're working on, or you know what the native species are that should be in places, if you come up the Upper Hoh Road and you get out and you start going to the places along the river there, all the way up into the park on either side, you will not see, the red is knotweed, the bright pink is herb robert, the yellow is Scotch broom, you'll see a bit of that. The green is reed canarygrass. There's Canada thistle in there. We've been treating all of those species from 2003 ongoing every year on the Hoh River. That's what was there. That is not there now, but there is still a seed bank of all those species in there. And there are new species coming in all the time with the tourists who bring seeds on their boots. Equipment brings seeds in tires. There's lots of restoration going on with heavy equipment that goes from place to place with a bucket that goes into something that comes here. All of it. And then, you know, of course, homesteaders planted the non-native blackberry, that's in places too. So the newest species is spotted jewelweed. I'll talk a bit about that, but that pale pink is spotted jewelweed, and we've stopped it on the Hoh River, which is an amazing achievement because it is all through the Dickey now. It's all through the Chehalis. It's all through the Chimicum. It's all through many places now. So it's a nasty plant. Okay. So in 2015, I was tired of training people to do knotweed 4 months a year that I could get money for from the state, from salmon recovery. I was doing it every year, hiring a new crew, training a new crew, having them on for 4 to 6 months, and then having to lose them because I couldn't keep them on in the winter. I developed a program that was watershed scale, regional approach, and it was going to go not just in the Hoh River, but everywhere because the species just keep transporting. We work on 28 species now. Not year round necessarily, but some of them year round. So we got money through the Washington Coast Restoration and Resiliency Initiative, which was this new capital budget allocation for, it was $14,000 back in 2015, $14 million back in 2015. And it's a competitive grant program. And we got, I think, $550,000 that biennium. And we've built it up now to about more than twice that, and develop this pilot that treats plants from Lake Crescent all the way down. We're now working all the way down to Westport State Park, and Westport. We're working on 600 acres of Scotch broom here. This was 240 acres. This was 300 acres at Griffiths Pike State Park. And we have Washington Conservation Corps crews down there and a South crew and a South crew lead. Usually we don't have one right now. We're looking. We work with Grace Harbor College to get interns and get students to work with us. And we're working up every river system. This is the Quinault Reservation. We're working up the Quinault. We're working up the Snahapish, Clearwater. We're working up the Hoh, Goodman Creek, Quileute, Kalawa, Bogoshill, Solduck. And then lots of places in between. And lots of partnerships, lots of cross-boundary surveys, lots of developing best management practices, tracking and reporting the costs and the benefits. Are we successful? What do we have to do? How many times do we have to go back to each site? At least 6 a year to stay ahead of everything. And we catch new species. We see spotted knapweed when it shows up, and it shouldn't be here. That's the plant that ate Montana. So we see that when we're out on a gravel logging road, we see one plant, we know what it is, and we're able to pull it and get it out of there. So we've stopped a few species from catching here. There's a few that are getting away from us. So, and we're training local eyes and hands. And I'll tell you, local jobs really make the difference. Keeping people working now year round because of Scotch broom, because you could treat it in the winter. That's what's really made the program shine. Oops, I'll go back to that. So we focus on sources, like one clump of reed canary grass up on the 29 road in the Kalawa watershed can produce 1,000 seeds that move in ditch water down a tributary to the floodplain of the river and move further. Those are sources. A source can be one clump, a source can be a half acre somewhere. We follow the pathways that those plants are going to travel, have traveled, are going to travel, and we treat as many as we can up close early before they go to seed. And then we map, and then we focus also on vectors like equipment, boats, trailers, boots, hooves, whatever it is. Beavers are great habitat creators. They're a problem for the work that we do. So we'd like to rent some beavers out if anybody. So yeah, anyway, we are working, training tribes, local youth, providing internship opportunities with the natural resources programs at Peninsula College and Grace Harbor College and the UW and the Evergreen State College. And that's just some pictures of some of our crews doing various things. and including the WCC crew out of Port Angeles, which is the middle second over. So lots and lots of people have been coming through the program for a long time. One of the things we do is take a lot of data with digital devices, iPhones or Android phones with Survey 123 data dictionary that tells you where you are and has a whole series of information to collect on what we're working on. We're creating dashboards that we can share out on where we've been, what we've done, that are this year we'll be able to create a report for each landowner on a regular basis or on an identified time frame, so that we can share that. And it's really important, we have more data. It kind of drives everybody nuts because we collect so much data, but we're a science-based organization, and we are trying to figure out what these plants are doing and what it takes to push back on them and get rid of them. I am focused on this place not having invasive plants, just having our native understory and overstory and that all of that supports everything. That's the goal. It's tough to do. So anyway, we're telling stories and we're collecting the data, and we're able to provide that data to a lot of different researchers. Folks come to us for our knotweed data on the hoe. They come to us for Scotch broom data. They come to us for reed canarygrass data. And so we're doing that. We're talking about future-proofing watersheds. So we're going into places where there are a whole lot of restoration projects being planned. And we do surveys for the restoration project sponsors before they start their work. We tell them what species are in their project envelope, geographic envelope. We tell them what we could do to get rid of them for them, how they should be careful of the seeds in soil, where they should park their equipment, and make recommendations for how they can protect the investments. We, as the public, are making millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of investments in salmon recovery. If salmon recovery projects are being installed in invasive plants, they are never going to grow native plants on their own again. And somebody has to pay to come back in and remove them and plant and try to make these native plants grow. That ain't the way it's going to work in the long term. We have to stop that. So we're trying to bring everybody along, but nobody wants to manage a crew that has to have a pesticide applicator's license, or that does the kind of work we do. So it's a long, the boulders they're not floating yet. They're still being pushed out. So anyway, Scotch broom, reed canarygrass, spotted jewelweed, and everlasting peavine. Y'all drive down the Solduck Valley or Indian Valley and see that vining pink flowered pea plant. That is not a native plant. And it is taking over the Kalawah like I can't believe, because it was all planted on the Forest Service roads up there about 20 years ago. Anyway, we're working on those. Do a lot of education and outreach with many, many, many different groups. We're really glad to be able to be invited here to see you all tonight. Thank you. And we're building the workforce and training local folks. I don't take people from out of the area. I don't even like to hire anyone who lives in Port Angeles because they have to come around the lake in the winter and they don't show up, right? I want to train people here so that they know where they're living, they know what to do, and they could be a restoration technician for 30 years in their life and make a living to support a family. And I can say, you were at this spot 20 years ago and you saw this there. I want you to go back and tell me what's there now. And you know how valuable that is from folks where we live, right? Knowing the landscape. So that's what we want. And then we're working on these what are called natural climate solutions, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. And I talked about restoration projects. This is a list of restoration projects for salmon just in the Ho-Quileute watershed area. And the amount of money that was being asked for was $27 million for those. And there was $14 million worth of invasive plant projects, most of which were ours. I write a lot of grant proposals. But it's really important to get there early and to stop the spread of these plants in stream flow, roads, equipment. hill slope processes. All of the Scotch broom in the upper hoe right now is coming out of the South Fork uplands off of DNR lands where seed infested gravel was brought in and put on the roads, and the landslides and the tributaries are bringing the seeds down 1.5 miles up the South Fork, coming down the South Fork, getting in the main stem, and we have to go out on gravel bars 6 times a year to pull these plants to keep them from going to seed again. We gotta stop that cycle. Okay, so we do these kinds of information matrices to tell people where the hazards by habitat type are, what their propagules are. Are they rhizomes, fragments from the stem, fragments from the roots, or seeds? And where the disturbances come in and move them. Some people like to look at these sorts of things, and so we've just done these to be in reports and studies. We're doing a lot of science with a variety of partners. And Scotch broom studies, canarygrass studies are starting up. Knotweed studies have been done. Herb Robert, we don't have anyone to tell us why Herb Robert, what the allelopathic chemicals are and how it is that it's functioning, but we need it. Just got a project started on the biogeomorphic influence of Scotch broom on gravel bars. And you can see that one is collecting all this fine sediment. I'll explain more about it if you come by my office. I'm not going to take time now, but we just got some evergreen students to start on that, and we're using remote sensing to support it. And then glacial retreat. There's a USGS study that's finally started working with the Ho tribe. Been trying to track that for a while. And our goals about resiliency and building the solutions that can create the continuous restoration, passive regeneration of the big trees and the big leaf maple and the cottonwood and the vine maple and the berrying shrubs that are really great for pollinators and the elk and the deer. Everything works together. To keep that going, you've got to stop that scrolling Scotch broom from coming in, and it stops the willow from growing, and it goes out on these bars and goes over and over. So we do the invasives prevention. We work on forest thinning. I think some people here will remember me as the Ho tribe's habitat biologist when I thought thinning forest was very bad for them. Well, I learned. And I am a proponent of thinning forests. And thinning forest makes them grow better and creates a lot more food for everything that eats out in them. Yeah, so forest thinning and Scotch broom prevention and control, and then biochar pyrolysis. Have you heard of biochar? Can you raise your hands? Okay, we'll go over that a bit, and then using that biochar to remediate soil. I'll share it. Hang out. You'll hear about it. So this is a unit, a series of harvest units that's just up the hill here. That was a 70-year-old stand before it got harvested in 2021 or 22. That Scotch broom had been brought in 70 years prior in the road gravel. Scotch broom was here at least in the 1930s, probably before that. It stayed there under the canopy for all that time. And then after harvest, that's the first thing that comes back, and it goes to bloom by 2 or 3 years, producing 10,000 seeds that will last another up to 80 years for every plant that then are there before. There's nobody pulling the money together to treat that. You can't burn it because burning it germinates the seeds. You can burn it, but you're just going to have a flush of seedlings that you have to deal with. We cut stump treat it. We buy a lot of Fiskars loppers from y'all. We use these big herky Fiskars loppers and a lab wash bottle with 50% aquatic glyphosate called Aquaneat, 50% municipal water from the city. You can't use surface water from streams or anywhere else, even if it's clear, because glyphosate is so sensitive to suspended sediment that it becomes non-herbicidal. It binds up and will not kill a plant if it's bound. which is why I love it as a restoration tool, and don't eat it in agriculture. Never mind, won't go there. Anyway, to do this, to do all these units that have now gone to seed again and again and again and again without treatment, it's a big deal. But do we want that? No. Do we want a lot of jobs for a lot of people? Yes. Full body, you get a full body workout doing this work and you get paid to do it. Okay, so we're doing a lot of, we're doing some research with partners. We're doing a lot of remote sensing that I'm going to show you more of. This is a drone image that we took. And we are going to start doing some different other remote sensing that I'll talk about. So the applications in remote sensing that we've been doing, let us know the location, size, density, and condition of the landscape. We compare things over time. We are monitoring the spread of species, especially Scotch broom and canarygrass, and we're looking at sources, and then we're doing presentations. But the remote sensing we're doing now is using imagery from Planet Labs, which is an organization that builds satellites and deploys them. And we get this imagery we can get from 2017 on $38,000 a year for a nonprofit subscription. We could choose an area that we're interested in looking at, and we actually chose the entire Olympic Peninsula, but we're mostly working on the coast. And we can, through Evergreen interns from their GIS, Geographic Information Systems program, we've been looking at how to pull out the right color spectrum to show the yellow blooms between May and June. Because most aerial imagery is taken in July and August when it's gone back to green. When I show people that image from before, agency managers, that image before from Reed Hill up here, and I say, you don't know where your Scotch broom is, we need an aerial flight in May and June. They say, we know where our Scotch broom is. I'm like, you're dreaming. You don't know it's under those 70-year-old stands and it's going to come up as soon as you cut. You don't know that. So we're trying to show this. We're trying to build support for a really big program that will save our communities from wildfire. This is going to burn. And we're using this, and we're going to be expanding this. Next time I come here, I will talk about what we're expanding into, because it includes a NASA model for soil moisture and stand temperature and height. So we're going to be doing some of that on top of this. There's our crew, including me, in 2017, having cleared all of that in 3 days. There's still almost nothing growing there because Scotch broom doesn't let native plants grow. That was with the Fiskars loppers and the lab wash bottles with a few drops of the aquatic glyphosate on the cut stump. We do not spray Scotch broom. Spraying Scotch broom doesn't work very well, and it drips. And most people who are spraying Scotch broom end up leaving a little bit alive and the plants survive. I don't like spraying anyway, but we cut stump, treat it. We're going to be making lots of biochar out of this. So we've got some opportunities to create solutions here. We can create permanent year-round place-based jobs and training, and we can thin our forests where they need thinning. We can remove the invasives, and we can create the waste, the biomass, to biochar, which is a solution for a lot of small private forest landowners, including a number of them who live in Forks. This is a Forks property. It was forest land. When the folks bought it, they thought they were buying trees and timber, and they were. They harvested it, trees and timber, and that's what came up. A lot of people don't know that that's what's in the soil of the pastures they buy here or the forest land they buy here.
So Jill, can I ask a question?
Please.
So you're talking about 70-year-old trees that are cut, for example.
Sure.
Where do the seeds come from that's in that soil? So this has been in the past, Scotch broom grew there, put its seed down.
Correct,
and
a mineral.
trees grew.
correct. But it takes a really long time for the trees to overtop the Scotch broom. Scotch broom slows
Yeah.
forest growth down, and alder does not grow in Scotch broom. We don't know clearly why yet. We've been trying to study that through a variety of different projects. We think it's mostly water and the mycorrhizal fungi that gets altered. Scotch broom is a water hog. It can grow in really dry conditions and it's sucking water out of the soil. And on the gravel bars in the middle of the Hoh River or the Queets or the Quinault or anywhere else, the roots that can be that long. Willow and alder roots are lateral, and so are Sitka spruce, right? And hemlock. Scotch broom roots are down in that hyporheic water, the water that's subsurface. They stay green when the rest of everything else is crisping in the heat dome events or the droughts. This plant is a survivor. It survived many millions of years or thousands of years in Europe and Asia, being eaten by goats.
I have a question.
Yes,
And it might be a naive one, but
please.
I know you're working on specific areas, but the Scotch broom grows all along 101,
Uh-huh.
multiple creeks everywhere.
Mhm.
Every creek has had a salmon culvert rehabilitation
Mhm.
program. That's just dumping all those seeds
Yes.
into those creeks.
Yes,
I mean, this is a major undertaking to stop something that's just
yes,
being propagated all over the place.
yes. It's a great jobs program. I am undeterred.
You're starting to think-
Yes, Tom.
You mentioned goats,
Say what, goats?
you mentioned goats.
Yeah.
And I lived in Monterey, California,
Mhm.
and there was poison oak everywhere, that's
Mhm.
stadium.
Yes,
They could, vast goat herders would bring flocks
Yes.
in, and they would eat that poison oak.
yes,
Has anybody thought about a
yes,
program to try that?
yes.
How did it work? How did it try it?
So for poison ivy, it will work because it's not deeply rooted. Eating down that plant could actually kill it. You cannot kill a Scotch broom plant by eating it down. You can't kill a blackberry plant by eating it down. You can tether goats on these plants over and over and over again. If you tether a goat on a blackberry patch or a herd of goats, you fence them in and leave them nothing but that blackberry and that Scotch broom to eat for 5 years. You might kill deeply rhizomed blackberry plants that have been there and mowed multiple times. You will not kill a Scotch broom plant, which is why these plants survive so well. They have been eaten by not just goats, rhinos, camels. I mean, what's been on the Eurasian continent since glaciation over there? A lot of browsing four-legged mammals. These plants are superstars in terms of survival. So on the whole goat thing, back on east side of the peninsula, I was tasked with developing a goat proposal for East Jefferson County. For roadsides. So you get for $40,000 a week, you get a tractor trailer with a goat wrangler, electric fence, a New Zealand electric fence that you can stand up and take down. You have to have a little goat shelter. And you have to fence them along the roadsides. And then you have to manage them. And you only want them to eat certain species. You don't want them to eat everything. Well, guess what they'd rather eat? Everything you don't want them to eat, okay? Hillsides with English ivy are a good use for goats, but it doesn't kill it. The roots are gonna come back and back and back. And I wasn't willing to spend $40,000 a week of public money for something that wasn't going to be killed. I wasn't. So I haven't done it. Alex Hulstonk was gonna do a goat herd that we were gonna rent for certain places. If you have goats at your own place and you wanna have them out tethered eating your invasives, yeah, great idea. But as a strategy for these landscapes, no way. Putting people to work is just the better solution, I found. So Tom, if you'd like to try it, I'll be right next to you. I'll help you. Anyway, this is down on Baker Bar on the Hoh River. It's been in Scotch broom ever since WSDOT did the highway reconfiguration at milepost 174, just past Lost Creek, where they put heavy equipment in the river and coffer dammed the river and. Yeah, so they introduced Scotch broom. It is still all over there. We've gone back for years and years and we're still doing it. And you see how there's nothing else growing in there? The things that were growing in there are dead. That's what Scotch broom does to native plants, partly from water. So weeds thinning project for the Olympic Forest Collaborative. Taking out the doing non-merchantable and young stand thinning, opening up the stands so that the bigger trees can grow faster and the understory can come in. That's not habitat for most critters. There aren't very many animals or birds living there. There's some, but not many. And then we also want to do a project where we are reversing channel incision up the steep valley walls, where we've been logging across the small tributaries, first, second order, third order, for a long time before we got riparian buffers for fish-bearing streams. And by that time, the roads were already in place with culverts that were blocking passage. You've had debris flows down a lot of them. There's no surface water down most of our hill slopes in the swales. We could reverse that just by thinning the riparian zones and letting the trees fall into the streams to collect the sediment and create steps back and restore groundwater in the hill slopes. It'd be really interesting to see whether we could stop flooding at the valley bottoms that way. And we could pull fish back up and amphibians and insects all the way back up watersheds where they don't exist anymore. So that's a project we have some interest from partners in doing. We haven't started it yet, but we will. This was the only fire I've seen in 25 years in the Hope on the H1500 road, started by a hunter's catalytic converter on his SUV parked on dry grass. We had cut all the Scotch broom on all of the roads and spurs and out in the unit. We'd asked for a dump truck to pile all the Scotch broom in. We would have done that, take it to Winfield Pit and burn it in a kiln to make biochar. We were told it was too expensive. So that ended up burning 5 acres, required helicopters. It took 5 days to put out. Next time, let us put the stuff in a dump truck and move it, because it did increase the flammability of that fire. We're doing a lot of this. We could be sorting all that material, and instead of making everything red and orange in the sky and brown in October, November, like we used to do on private. We don't do it on public land, still do it on private land. We could be sorting that and using all of that material for biochar as well. And I am about to start talking about that. So biochar is solid carbon made in the absence of oxygen by burning top down in a really hot fire. You can do them slow, you can do them fast. It's been being made by agriculturalists for thousands and thousands of years. And Barry, think about putting wood ash or charcoal in the soil, which holds water. It is honeycombed, very strongly negatively ionically charged. Microbes, beneficial microbes love it. It can hold water, and it puts a lot of carbon down in soil. Plants that have biochar introduced in the planting holes grow much faster than the plants around them that don't have char in the holes. Part of that also is because it can hold, with that honeycomb molecular structure, it holds a lot of nutrients. You can charge biochar with specific nutrients. Anyway, so lots of people are doing biochar. It's even going into asphalt and concrete now. It's going into glass in places. It's being used for stormwater filtration. And we are hoping to create a market out here for char that will enable more of it to be made. In other words, all of that Scotch broom in that image that you saw can be burned in the winter. Biochar needs, if you're using larger conifer or apple wood or whatever, it needs to be less than 25% moisture. And you know here, when does it ever get to be 25% of moisture in anything? In the hot summer, it's still 85% humidity, right? We don't dry out here. So burning wood as biochar is difficult. Burning Scotch broom is not. Scotch broom burns green and wet in the middle of winter and it goes kapoof. Which is also why we don't want a whole lot of it around. So
Where do they do that currently?
where is biochar being made currently? All over the world and all over the Olympic Peninsula.
There.
I have not started doing it here. We have 5 of these kilns. And we are hoping to start doing it later this winter. We just got these kilns legalized through the legislature 2 legislative sessions ago. Ecology, the Department of Ecology and the Environmental Protection Agency were calling these kilns burn barrels, and burn barrels are illegal because people burn toxic stuff in burn barrels. You can't burn plastic very well in a ring of fire kiln. It is low. Burn barrels are tall and narrow. These are low and wide. They are made for producing char. And the bolts, they bolt together. There's a heat shield around the outside and the inside is the kiln. You build a fire at the very bottom, pile in all your biomass, start another fire at the top and let it burn down. And you see how clear that flame is? There's very little smoke and there's no sparks. And one of the things about the conservation burns, the big pile burns that we have, they have a lot of sparks and a lot of smoke. These are different, but you have to sort the material. There's all kinds of expenses that go to it. But if we can create a market so that folks who are doing stormwater filtration, restoration plantings, timber planting, and we need char just for agricultural compost to add into compost or for beneficial uses. And we have a facility that is creating it. We have folks out in the field that are creating it. I think we can at least break even. Some folks are thinking about buying these $150,000 char bosses or burn bosses, which you could trailer out to a unit and you could take entire trees. But we're not talking about doing trees. You can use trees for other good purposes, for wood purposes, right? But you can burn the branches and the tops if you need to, and you can certainly do a lot of Scotch broom. The city of Westport is thinking about buying one of these, and so is the city of Ocean Shores. They both have really bad Scotch broom problems. So Kelpie Wilson is the woman engineer who created the kiln. She's been working on this for years, and she's training crews in Oregon and California to remove fire danger, and talking about the large hand crews that we've got that do firefighting in the summer, fall, could be doing char in winter and spring. So we could have these restoration crews doing that. So
could you back that up?
yeah,
Right, then,
on the right, which one, that?
I'm just trying to read that.
Oh, I basically just said that. I
Yeah.
rephrased it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have flyers of this that I can email to you or give to you if you stop by the office. I just didn't have any to bring today.
Did that work on reed canary?
You can burn reed canary grass and make char out of it, but reed canary grass is really high in silica. And you don't want silica to be exposed to air and lungs. That's one reason why animals won't eat reed canary grass when it gets higher than 4 inches or 6 inches, is because the silica tears their guts apart. I have other suggestions for reed canary grass. So we want to do these, we want a permanent place-based conservation corps. I've been advocating $30 million of biennium for the last 7 years, 10 million for housing per bienniums, $10 million per year for 120 jobs, 12 people in each of 10 watersheds year round doing that variety of work. Everything that needs to get done. Think of how folks had to go out during this last rainstorm and get the 29 road culverts cleaned out so that they didn't blow all the way down the valley wall again. That kind of work needs more people doing it and trained people doing it. And so that's one of the things that Conservation Corps folks could do. So that's Alana up off the 29 road in the North Fork, Kalawa. That's how tall some of the Scotch broom is. We've got Scotch broom stems in the office that are 8 inches diameter. That's supposed to be timberland right there. So those red dots are where we've been working on Scotch broom. We did about 4,000 acres of surveys, well, I'm sorry, 1,200 acres of surveys this last year, and we've treated about 600. We're gonna try to get to 1,000 this year. And that's reed canarygrass up on, Bachman Creek to the Soul Duck. It was that. We collect, we bundle it, we spray it, and we get back to an open water wetland that can support fish and amphibians and birds. And, it does, but you have to go back. There's still,
What is that, reed canary?
that's reed canarygrass. We do a lot of reed canarygrass. This is that everlasting peavine that I started talking about that came off of the forest roads. We have a grant from the Recreation and Conservation Office to do the Kalawa River. So we have the Sitcom, the South Fork and the North Fork down to River Mile 10, where the South and North come together. This plant was planted for erosion control. Roads are the worst pathways and vectors for invasives. Stopping them on road systems is the most important so that they don't get down to rivers. This plant, everlasting peavine, I don't have any showing the flowers. This is it bundled and sprayed. Is growing up over the little willows, alders, salmonberry, thimbleberry, elderberry, Indian plum, etc. Smothering it. It's actually growing in the planter boxes right out here, the planters right out here. I've been watching it, taking some, we're strategizing. So this is it in bloom. See the pink flowers? So we have to go untangle all of the vegetation because we don't want to kill the vegetation because we are spraying this plant. It's rhizomatous. It's got really deep woody rhizomes down in the gravel. But most 8 miles of the North Fork is dry all year round almost. It's growing all over that and all down in the hyperic water. We don't know how to kill it yet. It's kicking us. The species is going to kick us. So if you ever see this plant in anybody's garden around you, beautiful pink flowers, people think it's native. It's not. Go tell them, come talk to me. I'll talk to them. We don't want it spreading. Okay. We've been working with WSDOT. You brought up WSDOT and the Scotch broom going down the highway. They don't get money to do invasive plants from the legislature. They want it. They don't get it. We've tried to work on the highway. It's too dangerous. We need one lane closed. We need a pilot car. I'm not willing to put our crews in that kind of danger, or even the inmate crews in that kind of danger. But we have been working with Olympic National Park and WSDOT to do Lake Crescent, which has been getting worse and worse with Scotch broom, everlasting peavine, tansy ragwort, reed canarygrass. So we've been doing some of that, and we need to do more of it. And it's been a really successful thing. And it's actually not even in our project area. I have to cover that sort of ourselves. William River, Scotch broom, everlasting peavine, reed canarygrass, Canada thistle. Willie's in pretty bad shape. Spotted jewelweed on the dickey. That's it. That's it. It's really pretty. We have a native one that's not quite as pretty. It's spreading like wildfire, and it's really nasty, and it acts like knotweed. It doesn't let anything grow under all that heavy shade. Most animals won't eat it. Banana slugs seem to like it. I'm gonna start a banana slug farm. We go back at least 6 times a year because it germinates asynchronously. It comes from like places like Wisconsin. It got introduced on the hoe and we stopped it there, but have not stopped it on the dickey. That was the hoe population. We are down to 3 individual plants, and it has not moved down the Hoe River because we've been on it since 2019, multiple times a year. You gotta protect uninvaded habitats and focus on those sources, vectors, and pathways. You have to prevent seed dispersal. These seeds spit 12 feet. The little seed pods twist in your fingers like live animals, like live insects, and then they go. So we're studying this plant, we're trying to figure out how to stop it, we know how to stop it, we're doing it, but it just takes a lot. That's the dickey, the D5000 is up around the corner, the red's knotweed, the pink is spotted jewelweed. So that's spotted jewelweed seedlings, where there should be salmonberry, alder, and alder growing. And there's none of those species in there, it's a swale. And it moves in water, a lot of these species seeds move in water. And we got told by the Recreation and Conservation Office Technical Review Panel when we applied for $183,000 to do the whole Dickey watershed, which was nothing in terms of money. They said it's an understory species, so it can't possibly hurt salmon. And I'm like, but hey, y'all, the tree seedlings have to come up through the understory, and they can't get started in this plant, which grows with reed canarygrass and knotweed. The three species love each other. They come from the same places. They support each other. So we're working on that one. We take out, I think we probably took out 300 30-gallon yard waste bags, and the stems get to be about that big around and they're full of water. So it's really heavy. Anyway, it's easy to pull. Anybody want to come with us anytime? We'd love to take you out. Knotweed is still on the Hoh River, but barely. And we're still after it all the time, and we're leaving knotweed to everybody else in the other rivers. We do the mouth of the Queets River, we do Upper Quinault, we do a couple places that no crews are going to, but the Quileute tribe has a knotweed program. Quinault has a knotweed program. We're not doing knotweed for everybody, although we did 2 private landowners in Forks this year. So folks who have knotweed should come to us out here, because the Clallam County Noxious Weed Control Board can't make it out this far to do that for them. So we'll do it. Oh, and I want to see if I can make this go, because you'll enjoy this. So this is a private tree farm up on the Quileute Prairie that is overloaded with Scotch broom. And I filmed this, it's sped up, but in 5 minutes, they did a 200 square foot patch. They worked a little bit faster than they normally do. But what I can say is that Scotch broom is never going to grow back. The seedlings will. There will be seeds coming up. That golden grass, that sweet vernal grass, it's a Eurasian grass that loves the nitrogen that Scotch broom fixes out of the atmosphere and puts it down in soil. It's a thatching grass. It doesn't let anything grow out of it either. So the two of them together are bad. We see all that other plant, the low plant all along here? That's all Scotch broom. He's been mowing it. He can't grow his trees. They're stuck at this high. They've been stuck that high for 8 years. So we're going to do char there. We're going to go do the biochar thing with him, with that family. Anyway, so that was fun. Okay. We are at 8 o'clock. I could pass by really quickly, just give you images of other places that we work. Owl Creek to the Hoh. Snahopish River reed canarygrass, have funding for that. Reed canarygrass in the Upper Quinault. We've done a protocol for it, and there's a copy of it right over there, and it's available on our website, and it's all about separating the natives out, bundling the reed canarygrass, spraying up and down, and we're really successful. We are the only group working on reed canarygrass on a massive level. And we're hopefully doing a symposium at Great Wolf Lodge in March next year, a statewide symposium. That's our project area for 3 coastal counties, 8 watersheds. That is reed canarygrass work that we've done, the green. And it comes back. If we can't be there all the time, it comes back. Those are all the other species. So we've done a study, and that was a presentation on it. We did that up at Irely Creek and at Wilson Creek on the Boga Shield. It wasn't very successful for what we were trying to show, but we're not giving up. We did a presentation this last February. That's the Dickey. That's reed canarygrass. There's knotweed popping up through all that reed canarygrass and spotted jewelweed mixed in. This is back to the Snahopish. The Snahopish is in really great shape. We got on reed canarygrass there early, and we've been preventing it often, and it's almost clean. So we're really happy. We have story map on it. I would love to share that with you if you'd like to bring a flash drive, or you could just check in and pull that off and play it. You all know where the Snahapish is. We've been doing the Clearwater from River Mile 26 down on Knotweed, down to the Queets, and from the Queets 7 miles down to the estuary, and that for a number of years. The Clearwater's a hard river to work on. It needs real athletes because it's really canyonized. You have to go 6 miles between ways that you can get out. You are carrying a backpack sprayer and you're wading back and forth across the river a lot. I love it, but it's a hard one. The Snahapish is in great shape. There's some little coho fry that John McMillan took underwater. Mouth of the Queets, working on tansy ragwort. Some tansy ragwort there is as tall as where those lights are. I have pictures of that. 250,000 seeds or so per plant that blow in the wind, and they end up all the way back on the hill slopes of the Salmon River, way back up the Queets. So we're stopping that a lot. Reed canarygrass and Irely. Orange hawkweed is around in Forks. If you have it, please try to pull it, even if you leave roots in the soil, pull it before it's got the flowers on it and goes to seed. It's like a dandelion and it's spreading crazily. There's a little bit of Queen Anne's lace coming out from Port Angeles now out here. We're gonna try to stop that too. If you're growing carrots, it will mix with your carrots and change your carrots to non-carrots if you're saving seed. It's the wild carrot, Dacus carota. And then that's one spotted knapweed that Alana had found on a dicky road, probably dropped out of hay, that we pulled. And Scotch broom, biocontrols. One of our programs, so we do integrated pest management strategies. We don't just do chemical, we do manual, chemical, some cultural covering, but we also distribute biocontrol agents that are tested for 2 decades or more by the Washington State University Biocontrol Program. Jennifer Andres is the lead there. And this is Russ Poppy and Jen's intern whacking the Scotch broom beetles in part of Winfield Pit. The Scotch broom flowers, to see if there were any beetles in them. And these beetles are tiny, and we've gotten multiple years of containers of these little beetles, and we've gone out to a number of places in the area and released them. And there's lots of information about biocontrols. I have a whole binder back there.
What do the beetles do?
They eat about 90% of the seeds. They get in the pods when they're still green. And they actually go inside the seed and they eat from the seed out and they destroy the seeds. So they don't kill the plants. There is another called Exapion ficustre that does start to kill plants. We don't have that one. We're not putting that one out, but it does stop the seed production. So if you're thinking long-term, like I am, like 10,000 years or even 1,000 years or even 100 years, if you could stop some of those 80,000 seeds per, or 10,000 seeds per plant that last 80 years, slow that down, you will be able to get ahead of it. So this was back through 2023, was the red were the detections that we were finding from places that we had distributed them. We are in 2025, we just did another survey and I didn't have a map of it. It's doing great. There are beetles all over the place. And so we're really happy to find that. They do fly. I thought they were drowning. We also have distributed biocontrols for Canada thistle, for tansy ragwort. You see those striped cinnabar moth caterpillars? That's one of the agents for tansy ragwort, and Canada thistle and for St. John's wort on Highway 101. So the beetles are good for places where nobody's going to go spray, cut, or otherwise damage. And they won't kill the plants, so that plants are still doing bad things to soil and to not letting anything else grow, but they're not producing seed. And I'm almost at the end. You guys stayed with me. You did good. I did pretty good getting through 60 slides in an hour, chattering in between. I would love to answer some questions if there are any. I might have stunned you all into silence.
I have one. We have a property that has quite a bit of Scotch broom. Why
Yes.
does it not progress over into ours for the most part? We have not seen it. Is it just underground? Does it grow underground or does it just grow seeds?
It just pops seeds. So the seeds are not being trapped. Ants are one of the vectors for seeds. Scotch broom seeds have a sugary coating on the outside, and they have a little, legume seeds have a little carrier. They carry the seeds to their nests and they scrape the sugars off and they eat them, and then the seeds germinate. So ants are one way that things, but are you next to a big pasture? Is that where the Scotch broom is growing?
A vacant property.
A vacant property, and it's grassland?
No,
It's just, okay. So somehow you're just not getting them, and maybe you are mowing your place.
that might be the
I'm
possible.
thinking you're mowing your place. You're just not seeing them. If you walked away and stopped mowing for a couple years,
Well, the blackberries did take them.
well, then there's that. I have seen Scotch broom growing up through Himalayan blackberry
Yeah.
before. I just want to say, one of the things we did for education and outreach was we created a survey application, an app that you can put on your phone. You can get it off the QR code, you can get it off our website. It will have a really simple survey that you can will show you where you are. Will give you a list of plant species with photographs so that you can check on the plant species. You can say where you were, you can say more information, but it will give us more information about where things are where we just can't get to. Right now, we've got 9 field technicians and crew leads. It's not enough to cover enough of the land. So anybody who's interested in checking this app out, we've got cards that are laminated, and we'd love to give them to you. And that's it.
I just want to thank Jill. That was such an inspiration. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us.
You're welcome.
Is there a quick question from online?
Oh, yeah, I'm
'Cause I
sorry,
think-
online.
I think folks
Hi,
might
Ned.
stay and ask a couple questions, but
Hi, Ally.
anything online? This is your chance. All right, thanks for.
Y'all
thanks for-
know where I am.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's give her a round of applause. And we'll stick around for a little while if there's some questions. Also, if you have any suggestions for future evening talks, please come and see me. I'm Vera Trainer. I didn't introduce myself. I'm the Marine Science Director here. So thank you all for coming, and feel free to stay a little bit, and thanks again, Jill.
Thank you all. If anybody has ideas or places that you know that need some help, let me know. Question, hi Neil, what's up? Neil,
You discussed biochar.
Yeah, is there a recording of this that can be shared at a couple of other places? I've tried to get some
Yes.
people to come and they didn't, but how do
Yes.
you've got email or the Courtney does it, so
Yeah.
I can pass it on to them, hey?
It'll be on the ONRC website under Rosmond Evening Series.
Yeah, it should be up probably tomorrow. And I can send you an email with it, Neil.
That'd be great, because I actually just talked to someone today they were very upset about up with riparian zones up in Bellingham, and I said you need to talk to Jill and your group so that you don't have invasives and so that they reforest it. And I'd hope that he would come. And there's also some people in the Skycomish Valley I'd like to have them listen to your information. Thank you.
you're welcome, Neil, thank you.
And Neil, if you
Nice
don't
talk,
if you
by the
don't
way.
have Jill's Neil, if you
Yeah.
don't have Jill's
He
email
has it.
address, I can send it to you.
He's got it.
That would be good. Yeah, I'll follow through, and I might even kick it up to British Columbia.
I don't travel very far. You'll have to get me personal hovercraft.
All right, thank you all.
Thanks, everybody. Please stop by you know where the office is, right next to Whitehead's.
And if you haven't signed in and you would like to.
Oh, with all the cards.
here's-
I would like a card.
Thank you.
Thank you very
I'd love
much.
to talk to you more about your place. And
Okay.
yeah,
Well, my husband whispered in my ear, he pulls up all the little plants as
See?
soon as he sees it.
that's good. Well, that's what you have to do.
Yeah,
And they're easy to pull when they're little.
when they're little.
Did you say you put something on the stumps that's across the room?
Yes, I do.
What did you put on it?
But I would say.
I was gonna say, man,
I've got some out in the truck. If you come up to my truck, or actually, see what else my truck, I'll bring it out and tell you what it is.
Okay, get it.
I buy it from, and it's a product labeled, and I get it to a big company called Wilbur Ellis, but you can get some very similar, and mix it yourself. This is.